for that opening day game. The weather was cold, so not usually like home run type of weather that you would see back and forth. Actually, the Mariners, I think they hit 4 solo bombs in that game, but DeLauder was just too much for them to handle, hitting multiple in that first game. It was just incredible to see the impact that Chase had. So that was a guy that stood out to me as well too. Going down, we mentioned JJ Weatherall being one of the
Lose your wallet?
main, of
Just
course,
open Find
players
My.
that's contributing to the Cardinals, but also don't fail to underrate Nathan Church. The left fielder is one of the best defensive fielders that's coming up in the rookie class, and he made some gems of catches throughout this weekend. And I think that's something that you'll expect from him to be a Gold Glover level deep defender. I saw it when I was in the Arizona Fall League. I actually had a game where Church was in the game, where Chase DeLauder was in the game, Jack Caglione was hitting in that game. So it was insane seeing that stretch 2 years ago back in 2024 in the Arizona Fall League, and then now seeing those guys that have all arrived and are all making impacts. Also, got to give some credit to Sal Stewart. So Stewart, he's a guy last year that walked as much as he struck out, and we were wondering if that would translate to the majors. And oh my gosh, yes, it did. The Reds knocking off the Red Sox in that opening series, pretty impressive series win there for the Reds. Only loss in the series was on the Garrett Crochet start, but other than that, the Reds, they handled themselves very well in that series against Boston, and he was impressive. So I was really impressed with Sal Stewart, the power hitting ability, his doubles. He had 3 doubles in that opening series against the Red Sox, which was very impressive as well too. So again, these rookies, they really don't give off the vibes of rookies. And I also think we got to give credit to our rookies, so to speak, but not truly rookies from Japan. Munetaka Murakami, my goodness. Everyone said he couldn't hit that fastball. They were lying, and they owe that man money because he delivered in his game for the White Sox. It was impressive to see them, especially against a good Brewers pitching staff. It was nice to see him produce against the Milwaukee Brewers and showcase that, hey, he's ready. He can adapt to the MLB very well. And then from the Blue Jays, they went undefeated in that opening series against the Athletics. And Okamoto was terrific in that as well, too. So there's some really great first impressions around the league, which I thought was really incredible for this rookie class. Because usually, there's an adjustment period that comes in, but you just feel the development has been there. Each of these respective systems did such a good job preparing their prospects for these moments and being ready to make the impact. But then ultimately, it goes to the players and being mentally ready, being ready to, make that impact from day one, not being afraid of the moment. And we have tons of guys that are bringing in so much confidence in this youth movement. It's just nothing short of exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. And when, again, just for those just joining us, I realize we're working through some technical difficulties. Just got the stream up, didn't hit the right button for a second there. So, Cedric, go on. Great job kind of taking us through our first segment, which we're going through the rookies standing out so far in the first weekend. Yeah, I mean, you talk about it. We'll get to some matchups to watch. Double A college ball, as well as we get into harder conference play, risers, fallers, and his cool fair or foul segment at the end. Talk with some friends as well throughout the show. But yeah, just about this rookie class, and you look at the lineups, and these teams are batting these rookies at the top too. It's not like, oh, back in the day where you have, some of them are down there just based on the team and the other players involved. But I mean, you look at some of these guys. I mean, McGonigal, he's batting sixth. He's going to get up top sooner or later. Akamoto, the Blue Jays, they're a team that has those high aspirations. That you have guys like Vlad Guerrero. JJ Weatherholt is leading off for the Cardinals. I mean, I know you've got some other guys still finding their way, like you mentioned, Church with some incredible grabs. But I mean, that's a statement for a manager to put first major league game, you're batting leadoff for us. And I think that shows that these guys are ready. We've seen them. We've followed a lot of these guys over the years, and to make this impact, it's one thing to be batting 340 at AAA, but it's another thing to be, leading your team to victories at the major league level early on. I mean, the player that stands out to me the most is Chase DeLauder. I mean, with his performance, the 4 home runs in 3 games, got the jersey right there. I mean, that's great. The 5 RBIs, and shout out to Paul Hembekaitis, I think his name is on Twitter. apologies if any butchering there from ESPN. DeLauder only played a homer off of Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Andres Munoz, and he did it in a 3-day span. I mean, this is the kind of punch that we've seen from this Guardians team when they've been a top contender in the American League. When you have Jose Ramirez, Stephen Kwan, DeLauder in the heart of that lineup. I mean, you can make that lineup deep with his performance. And yeah, really, I mean, you can pencil in J-Ram, 30 home runs, 90 RBIs pretty easily these days. So when you have a guy that's either right in front of him, as he's been batting so far, but also right behind him, you got Manzardo, you can move DeLauder around. It's just super impressed with him, especially after last season. I mean, they bring him up for the postseason. He has a few defensive gas. Sometimes that can get in a young player's head, and him resetting, taking the off season, working on his approach. It's just great to see.
Yeah, I mean, he's battled a lot of injuries as well throughout his minor league stint and his minor league career. So for him to really put it all together, I think is impressive. And you hit on some really good points there, Jacob. First of all, you mentioned how the managers are putting their young rookies in the lineups and high spots. Usually it feels like you ease them in by, putting them in the 7 or putting them in the 8 or the 9. But if they're ready, putting them at the top, I think is not only impactful just from a team perspective and, showing confidence in your rookies, but also I think it really tells the fans like, hey, this is going to be the face of your franchise, or one of the guys that's expected to be a guy that'll be on the team for the next 4 to 5 to 6 years for the rest of their service time. So you need to get to know these guys and get to know them early and often, and you give them more at bats and more opportunities when you bat them higher in the order. Naturally, they may get 3, 4, 5 extra at bats if they're batting in the top 3 versus if they're batting at the end, which gives them more chances for big moments and bigger plays that'll happen. So I think that was one great point that you mentioned with the Guardians being able to build in. They have some really good young guys coming up. Travis Bazzana, who we'll talk about in our AAA segment to watch coming up. A little hint there. All about the Cliff show. I'll talk a lot about the Clippers throughout this. But yeah, I mean, you talk about bringing him Bazzano, who's going to be coming up through the ranks as well, too, at any moment, probably in the next couple of months. It's going to be huge for the Guardians. So again, having Chase DeLauder come out there, hit those home runs. And there was a stat I saw with Chase where now he is just the second rookie to hit 4 home runs in his first 3 games. The other rookie was Trevor Story in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe so. So again, you can't
Yeah.
trust everything you see on the internet, but I think that is pretty impressive if that's the case. And again, just speaks to how amazing of a start. But then again, you don't really need to know anything about baseball to know 4 home runs in your first 3 games is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, remarkable with that. I mean, hey, I'll believe it. I'll believe it for that. I mean, there's some crazy stats, but these rookies just setting records all over the place. I thought I saw there was another stat. I forget who it was, but it's just like, I mean, you're unprecedented across the league with what they can bring to the table. You mentioned it, Cedric, as we move on to our second matchups to watch segment here in segment number 2. Again, just talked about some rookies standing out. Now we're going to move over to some matchups. Can be AAA, can be lower levels, which are starting up here later this week. Double A, high A, low A going to be starting April 2nd this weekend, the first series for those. What matchup you were talking about, Travis Fasana, looking at those Clippers? Cedric, what are you looking at a matchup to watch here this week?
Yes, I've got a couple. Perfect segue, Jacob. First, though, we'll talk about the Columbus Clippers. They're 2-1, coming off of a series win at the Iowa Cubs. They won that last series in the last second as well with a go-ahead home run in the ninth. So that was really impressive by the Clippers to take that one against the Cubs AAA squad. But they're going to be taking on an Indianapolis Indians team that surprisingly didn't get a win in their opening series. They're 0-3 going into this matchup, but it really is a highly slated match. We have two top 25 prospects, including Connor Griffin, who is getting started now with the Indianapolis Indians. So that's going to be a massive matchup there and something that's going to be exciting. And the best part is you get 6 games of that Tuesday through Sunday. So that's going to be a very exciting thing to series to watch. For me, that's one of my most highly anticipated AAA series, and I got to give credit. One of my closest friends, he is a diehard Clippers fan, goes to every single homestand, at least 1 or 2 games every 6 game homestand that they have, and I don't think I've seen him more excited for a series to come by. He's trying to get all the different autographs and everything like that. But I just think it's incredible that that's going to be an early season matchup with two highly ranked prospects, and then you have opportunities for newer guys that maybe are under the radar. They get a chance to shine. I wouldn't be surprised too. MLB Network, they usually do a pretty good job in the MLB app. If you have MLB TV, they do minor league baseball showcases where they choose like one game of the day, and that's going to be shown in the MLB app on your smart TV, your Roku, or on your phone. And I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of the games this week will be one of those Columbus games against Indianapolis. So that's a big one that I have over there. Before I jump into any of my next ones, Jacob, I want to toss it over to you and see if there's any matchups that are standing out.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I really that infield battle with Bazana versus Griffin. I mean, those are two. Of course, Griffin, there, as we have discussed on this very show, did the Pirates do it right? I don't know. With all these rookie success, I mean, I know he struggled in the spring, but already off to a hot start in the first weekend for AAA. I think that button, to the Connor Griffin button, if you will, is going to be pressed very quickly, and seeing, yeah, Bazana, what he did at the World Baseball Classic as well, transitioning that now to AAA. He's another guy that the Guardians, I mean, that lineup's going to be full of left-handed hitters, but full of a lot of good left-handed hitters. So definitely excited for that. My matchup, I'm going to go with a few more infielders. I'm going to take it down a level, going to go to AA. And how about let's talk about the rivalry in AA? The Red Sox, the Yankees, the Portland Sea Dogs against the Somerset Patriots. It's the first series of the AA season, and two of the best infield prospects facing off in Franklin Arias and George Lombard Jr., both of them getting to spend some time, some opportunity with the big club during spring training. So, I mean, the rivalry is in full force. Portland finished one spot higher than the Patriots in the first half standings, but it was the Patriots who earned the playoff spot and had a better
Wow.
second half in that ending. Of course, Binghamton just ruling the way with their performance, but in that tight division down the stretch. So I'm looking for the rivalry, taking it from the big game a little 2 rungs down, some prospects on the line, some infield future for both of these rivals facing off. That's where I'm going, keeping it with the infield talent here.
I like it. Especially cool whenever you have the rivalries that trickle down throughout the minor league levels. And that's a prime example of that. You also see it sometimes in AAA with Worcester and Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. Like there's some opportunities, especially where Yankees and Red Sox are involved, where you see those matchups kind of trickle down the levels of the minors, which is excellent. So great choice over there. I'll drop it down even further to a different level. We'll go to the college level. We're going to look in the SEC, and we have a battle between two teams going in different directions. So Alabama was a team that I think a lot of people maybe left for dead in the SEC. They were on a really cold streak. They bottomed out with losing at home to South Alabama in an upset, which was a really rough loss for the Crimson Tide. The Sun Belt's really good in South Alabama, very respectable baseball program, but not a game that you want to be losing consistently if you are Alabama. And then they kind of turned it around. We saw them throw the no-hitter against Florida a couple weekends ago. Then they carried that momentum. They took on number 5 ranked Auburn and they swept their arch rivals in a baseball series. And Alabama, just like that, they went from, being winless in the SEC, dropping a game to South Alabama midweek. They turned it around. They're up to 22-7 after back-to-back series wins in impressive fashion over Florida and Auburn. So they're looking good. They're feeling confident jumping into Norman right now. And then you have Oklahoma, who's going the opposite direction. They're 19-8. and they were swept against their biggest rivals, Texas. And one of them was a blowout, the other two were walk-offs. So that's pretty much the worst case scenario to way to lose. You lose badly one at a time, or you're not even in it, and then you get walked off. One of them was a doubleheader, if I recall correctly, where they got blown out the first game and got walked off at like 10 o'clock at night Eastern, so like 9 o'clock Central Time. And it was just a rough day for the Sooners. So a day they want to forget, and this is their chance to be back at home and try to bounce back. And the matchup to watch in this game, it's going to be Brady Neal and Justin LeBron, who are both having pretty solid seasons. Brady Neal, the batting average leader for Alabama, batting over 360. Justin LeBron, couple ticks down from where he was at last year when he really dominated. This year, batting around 280, but still pretty consistent, still pretty good, and still in pole position to be a high draft pick. And speaking of high draft picks, another guy that is a highly rated prospect, former LSU pitcher transferred over to Oklahoma, Cameron Johnson. He stands at 6'6", left-handed pitcher, has some legit major league level stuff. He's made 7 starts this year, has a 3 ERA. He's pitched 5 innings scoreless against Texas in his last outing. So I'm expecting him to really have a good outing there against Alabama. So I'm excited to see that showdown, have Justin LeBron and Brady Neal match up against Cameron Johnson. So that's a good look in the SEC right there. Oklahoma and Alabama, that series starts on Thursday, with it being Easter coming up. Got a lot of college series that are going to start a little bit earlier. But that's definitely what I'm looking for in college baseball. Alabama versus Oklahoma, 2 teams going in different directions. What's going to happen?
That's a great pick, Cedric, and even a pick that I picked myself, guys. We before we were like, oh, let's bring in not only, of course, college baseball, which is huge addition to the channel. Loving that, covering that with all of our segment, weekly shows, videos, adding that in to minor league baseball. I was like, yeah, Oklahoma, Alabama. This is quite a matchup coming up.
Yeah.
Looking at the standings, and look at that, we're on the same wavelength here. Yeah, I mean, looking at the standings here, Alabama 5-3 in the SEC, a deadlock with Florida and Kentucky, and Oklahoma down towards the bottom half, but they were 3-5. We're talking the middle of conference schedule here. You can pick up wins, you can climb. I mean, you want to get into a good spot heading down this stretch, coming off of a 3-game losing streak. This is, like you said, 2 teams moving in opposite directions, collision course. Seasons can shift with these types of matchups. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Oklahoma pitching staff, outside of Johnson, who really outstanding in that first start of the season against Texas Tech in the Shriners Classic. So I mean, but the rest of the staff, they've struggled in conference play. Alabama really humming offensively. So I mean, these are 2 teams that really, in any sport, anytime they match up, basketball, football, track, you are glued to the TV. So do the same. Do the same this weekend for baseball. Yeah, what are the odds? What are the odds? We picked this out of all the teams, out of all the matchups, had a few ranked matchups too, with North Carolina, Notre Dame this past weekend. A lot of good baseball, and picking some SEC ball as our matchup to watch.
It is. I can say we know ball. We just have the ability to pick them, and we both saw that matchup, and we're like, yeah, he can't miss that one. That's a good one over there too. So, yeah, no, we got some really good matchups picked here. I mean, between you got battle in AAA, battle in AA. We got a college level game as well too. So again, there's a lot of good things to watch, and I always recommend that because I think a lot of us will watch probably our major league team quite often, and especially early on, everybody is starts 0-0, so everybody has a chance at the playoffs at that point. But if any teams start to slump a little bit, if you need a change of pace, you're sick of your team making some mistakes or disappointing you, you can sometimes switch it up. Go watch a AAA game, go watch a little college, go watch a AA game. And I'll tell you, it's sometimes a nice little palate cleanser or a refresher just to watch kind of like a different level of game. And then we'll get you back ready for your major league team because you feel ready to get hurt again.
Ready to get hurt again. Yeah, I mean, that's how it's been. That's how it's been. But yeah, that palette, it's great. It's great. Whether it doesn't even, like you said, it doesn't even have to be SEC baseball. I can be. I have Atlantic 10 just for the schools around me. That it's some great baseball, as we've talked about. Not just at the power of the conferences, but some of these other schools that are really really putting together guys that are going to get drafted, incredible seasons in their conference. So, yeah, really echoing Cedric there to go watch those games. Speaking of echoing, let's talk about some friends before we move on to the rest of the show. Before we go any further, want to shout out a company we are huge fans of here at Minor League Minute, and that is justbats.com. If you or someone you care about is looking for a bat ahead of the baseball or softball season, this place beats your typical store just down the corner. Their team does customized engravings, regrip services, and can even put knob stickers to add little extra pizzazz to your new bat. This team is full of people who love baseball, just like you and I. Cedric, we love these custom bats, just like the pros. You want to look like Fernando Tatis Jr. Nothing says like Just Bats team. Head to the link in the description to learn more about Just Bats today. People, it's time to get your bats. I mean, a lot of seasons, softball, baseball already starting. No April and May. It's right there as well. So, I mean, this is the chance for you to get your bats right now.
That is summer ball also coming up for some people. So there's that. You got lots of like softball leagues and stuff like that going on. So I think this is a great opportunity to do that. And we're always appreciative of our great sponsors, Just Bats.
All right, now moving into our next topic. It's our favorite, one of the fan favorites, the recurring topics here on the show. Risers, fallers, stock up, stock down, teams, players, we cover it all. And we've already talked about some young players standing out on MLB opening weekend, matchups to watch. Jacob Smedley, Sedric Granger, Corey will be back. Don't worry, he's not gone forever. Just taking a break. We're filling in from him here on the show, Minor League Weekly
Yeah,
adding
just
in.
tell people to turn on Valley Live in these next couple of weeks. You'll see Mr. Sparks over there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for those fighting Phils. Risers, I'll just start, Cedric. I'm gonna look. We
And
talked
go.
about the AAA. I'm gonna go down to Charlotte, the Charlotte Knights, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. They swept the Durham Bulls, the Rays AAA squad. They scored 19 runs in their first game, and then went on to win some close games. 3 of the top 6 pitching prospects were on display. Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, Tyler McDougal were on the mound. Schultz, 4 no-hit innings out of the pen in game 1. Smith and McDougal both starting, only gave up 1 run. McDougal struck out 6 in his appearance. Sam Antonacci, who shined in the World Baseball Classic, has a hit in every game in that series. So Charlotte, I mean, the White Sox maybe don't have a win just yet, but they do have some prospects, some prizes there in AAA that really showed out in the first weekend.
Yeah, that's an impressive start for Charlotte as well. Because if you guys don't know how the playoff system works with AAA, it's highly competitive in the International League, especially in that first half. It's a big league. So between the International League and the Pacific Coast League, there's a lot more teams on the International League side of things. And there's still just one playoff spot per half for that group. So it's really competitive for those playoff spots. So if you start quick and you start early, you might have yourself a shot. You don't end up like Lehigh Valley, who actually had the quick start last year. They were probably 20 games above, but then the Jumbo Shrimp, who ended up winning the national title, got super hot late in that first half. So good start though for Charlotte, and they're going to take advantage of that 3-game series. So I'll look forward to what they'll do and see if they can keep it up into their next series coming up, and give some good signs to the White Sox, who have some hope. I'll say that with Murakami and some different guys making impacts. But if they get some guys coming up from the minors and they start really starting to hit, you might see like a little midseason surge from the White Sox of just being at least a team that's going to be a tough out and won't be something you'll be thankful to have on the schedule. For me, I'm going to go to a prospect I watched actually on MASN. So the Orioles, they had the off day Friday. So I turned on the Norfolk Tides for their opening day game. It was rainy, terrible conditions. It'd be awful conditions to pitch. Robert Gasser, 17th ranked prospect for the Brewers. He's already gotten a cup of coffee in Major League Baseball. I did a short on him recently. I was so impressed by watching him and his composure. On the other side of things, the Orioles, they had one of their top prospects pitching in Gibson, and he struggled. And, I don't blame him because the rain, bad weather, cold, it makes it really difficult conditions to pitch. Maybe conditions you might see in October, depending on what ballpark it is. Robert Gasser, he came in, worked his sweeper, which is his best graded pitch, very well. And just like Jacob Mizorowski did on opening day for the Brewers, in AAA for the Nashville Sounds, Gasser struck out 11 batters and had great command of all of his pitches despite the weather being as bad as it was. I was so impressed from Robert Gasser in that one. And I think he's going to find himself either in the bullpen or maybe even starting in a pinch for the Brewers. But they are a team that has so much pitching depth, so it's a lot of high and heavy competition there. But I'd imagine that he'll get an opportunity in the bigs if he continues to pitch like that. But the big thing for me was just that despite the weather being bad and really no pitchers having much momentum, because the Sounds, they actually lost that game even despite the great start from Gasser, because the other pitchers that they had coming out of the bullpen all lost command. They walked too many guys, and then the Tides, which the game ended after 7 because of the rain, they got all their runs in the 7th inning because there was no command. So again, just really impressed with Gasser. He's definitely my first riser, and then I have a couple of like quick hitters for you as well. Number one, ABS system. We had so many great moments from the ABS system. It was amazing, and it all got set up in the minors. They did it all last year, and if you went to a AAA game, you got to experience the fun of that. And now it's here in Major League Baseball, and boy, oh boy, Jacob, did it deliver. We had the Eugenio Suarez moment where he was called for strike 3, challenged. All right, it's not strike 3. Then got called for strike 3 again, challenge again. It was not strike 3, and you got the loudest cheer of the day from Great American Ballpark. By the way, Ellie De La Cruz homered that same game, so for there to be a higher cheer than that is incredible. Orioles and Twins, you had the first ejection based on an AVS system as well, because of a dispute over whether the challenge was quick enough or not. And you had that game between the Orioles and Twins. If there was no ABS, the expected run differential would have favored the Twins by 2.21 runs more than what they had. But thanks to the ABS system, the game ended up being what it should have been, which the Orioles did outplay the Twins in that game specifically. So that's a game last year the Twins would have won probably handedly based off of how high leverage those challenges came in. But the Orioles, they challenged well, and the ABS system did its job. And it helped, give the game a good result. And you don't have a lot of people saying, like, dang, that's wrong. And even if you're a Twins fan, it sucks because you don't want to lose, obviously. But the aspect of that is you can't be too mad about it because it's the truth. And that's the same thing where I think if you lose an ABS challenge, as a fan, you can sit there and be like, I understand. It's a robot. We see a video and we see a visual of it. And Jacob, it's quick.
Yeah.
It's quick. You're
Yeah.
not sitting there for 5 minutes like you do in maybe some other sports where you're waiting for a lengthy challenge to be figured out. And there's a limitation to it. So they can't just challenge every pitch in the ninth. You have limitations to it. So it makes it exciting. So, in my opinion, this is a home run, so to speak, for Major League Baseball. And it's just another aspect of the game that's so fun. I mean, even we take a look at Rosarena during the game with the Mariners. There was a time where he was called out on strikes. He started walking to first base because they knew it was a walk after an instant challenge, and he was right, but if he was wrong, oh my goodness, it would have been bad. But you're getting those exciting moments where it's either the umpire is going to be proven right, or the player stands on business and has so much aura walking to first base after his walk that was originally a strikeout. So just a big win. I got to hear you, Jacob. What is your thoughts on ABS in that first weekend?
Yeah, now I mean, not to spoil a faller, but maybe an individual involved in the ABS, maybe a faller for me. But yeah, I like it. I mean, too, it's another thing. You talk about the fans and the energy. I mean, I think that's another thing that Major League Baseball is still trying to get. Sometimes you get the lull of the game. They increase the speed of the game. That kind of took away from that, lull where it's, 1-2 count in the 4th inning. Everyone's looking around. Should I go get more food, those kind of things. You got the ABS, you got that tap, you're waiting here for the call. It goes up on the video board, you have the umpires turn around, you wait, oh, what's going on here? This kind of new aspect, this new revelation that especially people, of course, maybe people go into these minor league games, have more exposure. Oh yeah, see it, last few seasons at the minor league level, but these fans maybe not into. Oh, what's this? What's this new revelation? Why is Randy Arozarena tossing his bat and just literally turning around? He knows it. He's halfway, a third of the way down to first base. So yeah, I think it's off to a great start. And you mentioned kind of that percentages, the runs. Love looking at the umpire scorecard that goes out on Twitter. We can see all of the balls. How's that gonna work now? I mean, you have kind of almost like the ABS, like little, like gotta have to add an ABS where the balls that were like originally called overturned, because that's now the next thing. Okay, like the challenges, that's the next evolution of this new little tool that's involved with the game. So I love it. Off to a good start. Super excited to see how it evolves. Another riser, just thought about, I mean, we're going to turn into a Columbus Clippers podcast. I think that is going to be this one. I'm going to go with Nolan Jones, the former top prospect, Rockies, now with the Guardians. Strong start. He hit 2 home runs, had 6 RBIs this past weekend. We talked about that Guards lineup with Chase DeLauder. I mean, the lefties, Bazana's coming up, as we mentioned. I mean, Jones, he's a guy that if there's an injury to that lineup, I think he's a quick hook up to the bigs with what he can provide. Saw some videos too in the offseason, working with drive line, working on his swing to create some more launch angle in right, in left. I mean, it's looking pretty left-handed heavy, but I mean, an injury away, he's ready to go for a quick promotion. And I mean, if I'm personally the Guardians, I know they have Reese Hoskins over at first base, Manzardo, but maybe get some reps over there. You can't have too many, of those versatile corner outfield first base guys. They do have CJ Kafis as well. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. Nolan Jones, a kind of a now has really turned into that journeyman, but I like where he's at with the Clippers and playing well in that first week.
Yeah, that was a good choice there. So I remember earlier I mentioned how the Clippers they won with a game-winning home run in the ninth inning. I'm glad I didn't say the name of the prospect because you ended up saying it later in the show. But that was Nolan Jones who did hit that. It was a 3-run homer, I believe, 3-run homer because they were down 5-4. Yeah, so they hit a 3-run homer against the Cubs and it made the score 7-5 to take down AAA Iowa. Nolan Jones hit that home run and that was a clutch hitting home run as well too. So that's good to see him also thriving in clutch situations. Got to have it situations. If the Clippers can't bring in a run in that situation, they lose the game, and he delivers with a go-ahead blast. So very impressive. I think that's good. I think we have some really good risers now. Probably switching gears to some of the fallers, and you mentioned there was someone that had to do with the ABS system. Who might that be?
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to that sequence you mentioned from Eugenio Suarez, and I'm going to go with the umpire who was involved in that situation, C.B. Buckner, who is a veteran behind the plate and around the bases many years. But again, just that sequence from his point of view rings him up, does the big, you're out, sit down, pal, and then ABS ball 2. All right, outside corner. Ring him up, sit down, and no, it's challenged again. He doesn't get it. Red Sox are walking off, then they come back, walking off again. I mean, it didn't end up, in a Suarez hit. There weren't any runs scored, but that's something to think about. Talking with Corey off camera, a little inside baseball here about these veterans and their quick challenges. I know the Phillies had a few guys where it was Harper who was challenged one low, and then they ran out of challenges. The ump rang him up, and I wonder if there's like back-to-back challenges, or maybe over the course of the game, team runs out of challenges, it's a little off the plate, the ump rings him up, then you're done. I mean, that's also a big case where some of these veteran guys, eerily similar to like how Max Scherzer was with the pitch count, where he's trying to finesse it there in spring training. You have that funny moment where he comes set, delivers, he comes set, he's waiting again while the batter's still getting his stuff ready. There still might be some of this like give and take here in the first month of the season where some of these veterans, they're tapping on the next pitch, the ump's getting pissed off, and then later in the game, game, you have that maybe bases loaded, 2 outs, rings him up on a close pitch, and then you're done. So that's it. Maybe maybe a faller Buckner just for this moment, but that's something to watch as well. Some of these veterans who are not used to this type of thing in the game.
Yeah, I'll give you one veteran who did kind of, I'd say, adjust it pretty well. Salvi Perez. He actually had a couple sequences where he knew the zone, but the umpire did not on a couple of challenges low in those situations. But you do bring up a really big point about that human element, which is still always going to be a part of baseball. And the umpires, they're doing their best, I'd say, for most cases, not all cases, but most cases. The MLB umpires, they want to do what they can, but especially it's not an easy job. You're the most hated person, and now there's a different way to hold you accountable, which I think is great. It's a lot of poetic justice for us as fans, but I also know from their perspective, it's going to be quite a bit. And it's natural if someone is like proving you wrong, you might want to give it back to them a little bit, and that could create those situations where if a veteran gets on their nerve, picks the wrong thing or the wrong thing, and then base loaded situation, big moment, no more challenges left. That's there. So I guess if you're gonna play that game, you just got to make sure you're right on your challenges and you leave one just in case, because having the power of one challenge can be the difference between those decisions being made as well too. It's actually interesting to see the calculus behind how these teams are going to go about doing their challenges, and I'm interested to see how that progresses as it goes. I have a couple of fallers as well too, individual players. One of them, Bo Bichette, a 1 for 14 start with him. He got booed out in the series open. There's actually two guys in the same series between the Mets and the Pirates who had rough goes of things. Bichette, I think he'll get through it. I know he's a really good hitter. He's been here a long time. But whenever you're making that first impression, if it's really bad to start, a lot of fans are going to be saying, "Oh, waste of money." There's going to be a lot of naysayers. So he just has to really have that big moment in front of the Mets faithful, I think, and I think that'll help things out. I also think he handled it well in his interview when they asked, "What did you think of people booing you?" Bichette replied in the interview saying, "I would have booed myself too if I had that many bad at bats. I took some terrible at bats." So I think that's a great way to answer that question, and I think PR wise, that's great, and I think the fans, they can respect an answer like that, but they want to see him produce, and he will at some point soon. Another guy, O'Neal Cruz. If you're Paul Skeens, after going from the World Baseball Classic defensive team and having Bobby Witt behind you making ridiculous plays and Aaron Judge throwing guys out from the corner outfield, and now you got O'Neal messing up a couple of routine plays in center field, losing the ball in the sun. It just was a really rough go of things for O'Neal defensively, despite having the early success in the game with a base hit, but it really got ugly very quickly. It got Skeens out of the game early, and the Pirates, they actually put up some good offensive numbers in that game. If Skeens would have had his normal start, probably a winnable game for Pittsburgh in that one. So again, that defense just wasn't very sharp early on from O'Neal, and that also just again gets people feeling skeptical about his defensive ability in center. And then I'll talk about the San Francisco Giants. A really rough week in terms of runs scored, multiple shutouts, taking more than 18 innings to even score your very first run of the season. Not a good look there for the Giants. Not a good look at all for the entire NL West. They kind of had a rough go of things outside of the Dodgers, of course. But you have a couple of winless teams in that league. Some teams that only got one win in the first series. Padres kind of got dogged by the Tigers the first two games before salvaging it a little bit. So yeah, I'll put the Giants on the fallers as well too. So that's kind of my group there. A little major league heavy there, but Bo Bichette, O'Neal Cruz, San Francisco Giants, and my fallers territory to go along with your umpire pick.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Bo Bichette. I know like Juan Soto had that period too. Francisco Lindor even had that stretch where, the thumbs down. I remember just from the whole like fan and the players. I was like, whoa, okay, okay. It's the fans and the players. They're in New York. But yeah, like you said, handled it a pro's pro there. Yeah, owning up to it. Yeah, big city market. You got paid the big bucks, took him from the division rival, playing third base, new position for a team that has World Series aspirations, top of the NL aspirations like that. So yeah, he's owning up to it, and it's great to see with that. And yeah, O'Neal Cruz, that's the two plays in that inning too. The ball over his head, and then the very next play, it's like, okay, one bad mistake, then it compounds to two, and yeah, that it Skeens. He's not giving him that smile he gave Bobby Witt Jr. I can tell you that for sure, for sure.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe Connor Griffin, call him up, can maybe give him some more smiles. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. And we're not going to be doing any Joel Embiid tweets though for O'Neal Cruz. I know that went viral as well for
That
him.
did.
And guys, again, look at us. I had another faller. Do you want to guess what it is, Cedric? It's the San
Oh,
Francisco
the
Giants.
Cincinnati Giants.
We look at
Great
us.
minds think alike, brother. Great minds
Ball
think alike.
knowers. Ball knowers is the theme of this episode here as well. I mean, I'm not going to jump on Tony Vitello too much here, but I mean, one run in 3 games is one run in 3 games. I mean, it's the Yankees. They have some good pitchers, but they also have a lot of pitchers that are out in that series. You know, they're putting together really a 4-man rotation. It was announced coming in. So, I mean, 143 average, 1 RBI. They weren't striking out too, which is like, okay, the game's going that way, strikeouts, home runs, launch angle, but they were still like top half of the league and not striking out in the first 3 games. So really surprising. And so I feel like it's gonna even out. There's gonna be more games. They're gonna play, Rockies in their division, other teams that they'll get the offense going. But yeah, not the start you want for, an offense. Devers there another year, bringing guys together, excuse me, some reagent moves. Harrison Bader brought in. They brought in some guys on that offense. But yeah, it's yeah, that NL West, it's you don't want to fall behind because there's a team at the top that you don't want to fall behind. Or what, you get in front of them and they still come back too, which is
Yeah,
just
no, the
crazy.
Dodgers are winning like 110 plus. So I'm pretty confident about that. It's gonna be tough for anybody. But I guess you're thinking more about a wild card. I just think in general in that division, if you're not the Dodgers, we'll see how they continue to go. But they look really impressive, and they look like the lineup is just. It feels like MLB the Show, like a custom team made lineup or fantasy baseball or something like that. That's what that lineup feels like for the Dodgers right now, and their clutch hitting late in the game is just ridiculous that we saw against the Diamondbacks. But then again, also the Diamondbacks are one of the only teams that doesn't have any lefty relievers or lefty pitchers, which is an interesting move. We'll see how that pays off in the long run. I don't even know if they got any guys in Reno. I'll have to take a look at that too. But yeah, it's very interesting situation. But yeah, if you're the Giants to fall behind 3 games, it might be something where you're not coming back from that potentially already. But you can still be in good position for a playoff spot, depending on what goes on moving forward. And the Yankees, it's also just credit to them and credit to the entire AL East because they're just a ridiculously good division, it seems like this year. Isn't it great to be in this division?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sounds just great. Where the Rays are projected the 5th team, and it's was it 75 wins they're projected, and they got,
And they're
Yandy
probably going to
Diaz,
win about
Caminero.
that or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they never go away. They always
Mm.
have good young rookie and they develop players. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be tricky, but I think those are good choices for the fallers and for the risers. And I'm excited now that we have talks about that where it's not just speculation on spring training anymore. We have real games that really count. That make for really perfect like risers and fallers as opposed to kind of speculating based off of spring training stats, which might have nothing to do with how the guys will do in the regular season.
Exactly. Well, there's more games on the way, but the way to catch us, a way to watch us every week, we've been going since the off season, is right here on Minor League Weekly, Minor League Minute on YouTube. Cedric mentioned earlier some excellent shorts that he just put out. We've got more shorts on the way. Let's take a quick message to see how you can catch all of the Minor League Minute action.
Did you miss the live version of our Minor League Weekly podcast? No worries. We've got you covered at Minor League Minute on YouTube and Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Then you can go back to watch or listen to the whole episode for all of your prospect and affiliate ball needs. So what are you waiting for? Go follow, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to get caught up with the latest. That's Minor League Weekly on all of those platforms.
Again, you can check all of our stuff right here, Minor League Minute on YouTube, shorts, weekly episodes, just like this one, along with long form videos. We've got it all for this episode and for our channel. Tune in, baseball season is in full swing. We've got all the coverage, prospects, college baseball. We've talked about it all so far here on the episode, and wrapping up with a very interesting fair or foul. We've talked about the rookies standing out this past weekend, matchups to watch, risers, fallers, and fair or foul. Jacob Smedley, Sedric Granger here, Minor League Weekly. Yeah, it's a conversation that I saw Jeff Passan was talking about front office sports, discussing that with them with the interview, and it was about the expansion of Major League Baseball. There was recent discussions with the NBA with their expansion that they're floating around and some realignment in their divisions. But Major League Baseball, there's a little more to consider, maybe a lot more, really, in fact, to consider when you're expanding. Jeff Passan, quote, said it was inevitable. As you see with our thumbnail, expansion is inevitable. Just got me thinking, fair or foul? Expansion is good for Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball. If you want to separate it, Cedric, you can certainly do so, because of course there's positives, negatives for each. But fair or foul, is expansion good?
Fair for Major League Baseball, foul for minor league baseball. Here's why. So, what's great about expansion, you're going to make sure to engage better different markets. So right now there are some empty spaces, so to speak, or teams that rule really big regions. Main culprit of that, Atlanta Braves. They pretty much have like the entire Southeast on lock, which is pretty impressive to have that. But I also know some areas like Nashville or North Carolina, they have locations where there is a clear baseball market that is there. You look at the college teams in those areas, those are some of the most like impressive, thriving college teams that sell out their stadiums quite consistently as well too. So there is a market for those types of teams. So I think it'd be great for that. It'd also be good, I'd say, for some minor leaguers, especially looking at those quadruple A guys, those guys that are really good in triple A that just barely don't make the roster and are just kind of hovering in that kind of limbo zone. Now if there's a full other team where they need to have full 40-man rosters that need to be filled in for each of these teams, you're going to have more opportunities that are there for more guys to be in the major leagues. It might distribute the talent a little bit differently. Obviously, whoever spends the most is going to spend the most, but you're going to have some talent distribution that's there, more draft rounds, which could lead to maybe more guys getting picked up or more guys being added to different systems. And then just the excitement. We're kind of in a stage in Major League Baseball where a lot of things are new. And if we add two new teams, then you're going to have to reshuffle a lot of the divisions, because right now in Major League Baseball, you have two sets of 15 with the AL and the NL. And then if it's two sets of 16, you probably got to switch the structure up. Whether you go 4-team divisions like the NFL or you go 8-team divisions, and you try something new, there's going to be people who aren't going to be happy with the way that the divisions are going to be realigned. But as long as you find a system that allows everyone to play each other while maintaining the rivalries consistently, and then also being smart with your divisional choices. And, there's some divisions where if you put all of them together, I don't think it's going to work out very well, or it's going to be very fun or liked by fans. So just thinking about those aspects, I think, are huge. But I think overall it would be a boon for MLB. Here's why I say it's bad for minor league baseball. So Major League Baseball, you have a lot of different levels. So you right now have the rookie ball levels. You got your single A, high A, double A, triple A. And what we're seeing now is a lot more development routes from college. And I have the theory that MLB at one point would love for college to become the main development level. It saves money for a lot of different teams throughout their systems. You don't have to worry about maintaining 5 different levels. Instead, you only can maintain maybe 4 or maybe 3 levels. And if there's expansion, that would almost be the perfect excuse to be like, okay, we're going to make these leagues independent or make these leagues a part of the draft league. So they might just, say single A, goodbye, or high A, goodbye. They'll reshuffle to whatever the most successful and best and thriving market. So the teams with new stadiums. So if you're let's say Richmond, they just got a brand new stadium. They're probably going to stick around, I'd say, in the top level. Wilson, they just got a new stadium. They're probably going to stick around as a newer team. Ontario Tower Buzzers, they probably stick around. But that would also mean some teams that maybe are in older ballparks that maybe don't get as much TLC or been around a long time might get kicked out. So like you think about the Houston farm system, they have a team that's kind of in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, that might get taken there. Asheville Tourists, that's the team I was thinking of, where they're an older ballpark, a very traditional ballpark, but they didn't even get to have like a TV broadcast last year just because they didn't have as much of the funds, and it just is one of those ones that would be probably on the list to cut. And what we saw, the sadness that came from the Carolina Mudcats being gone, and the Mississippi team also being cut, Mississippi Braves not playing baseball anymore and losing their team to the Columbus area. We're going to see a lot of that, and I think it'll be very depressing. For a lot of markets and a lot of cities that grew up with their team, especially now I live in a single A market right now, right next to the Delmarva Shorebirds. I'm about 5 minutes away from their ballpark, which is really nice during the summers. I could see them like losing their facility and becoming an independent league team instead. And you can still have really great independent league stuff, but I feel the affiliation with major league clubs makes it really exciting. Like just a couple years ago here, Jackson Holiday was in town and he was here. One of our coaches at the school I work for, Maryland Eastern Shore, he was a part of the Orioles, and I was talking about him on the broadcast. He was in Delmarva at the same time as Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, and Gunnar Henderson. Those
Wow.
were his teammates, which was incredible to see that. And that would not happen anymore if the affiliation was lost. So that'd be my biggest concern with the expansion on the minor league side of things. Obviously, major league would be more important. It would also put a bigger emphasis on college baseball. And you might see the draft structure change where a guy can be drafted and they basically have his rights. And then they're like, hey, you go to college, and this is where you're basically going to have your single A and high A levels. And then you come in and we'll put you right in double A. Like you're playing MLB The Show. When you make a player in MLB The Show, you go directly to double A, which isn't accurate for most players, but you will go directly to double A. It might be just like that, where the only two areas are triple A and double A, and it's only going to be the halves are going to be the top. So if you have a big market and you're a new stadium and it's big enough size, you'll probably stay. Like I think AAA for the most part is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Double A, the worst double A squads are going to be put down, and the best high A and single A ballparks are going to be pushed up. So, like thinking of like your high A's, like Fort Wayne, who has one of the most beautiful ballparks, Dayton, who sells out all the time of their ballpark. I'd imagine they get kicked up a little bit,
Hmm.
while some teams might be left on the wayside. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of good. I think for most fans, if minor league baseball is not your main thing, major league's kind of your big thing, it might make things more interesting, but it's going to change a lot of the tradition. So if you're a traditionalist, I could see you not liking it as well. But that's enough for me. I think I have a lot of thoughts on this. But Jacob, I want to hear what your thoughts are. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, no, a lot of great thoughts, and yeah, I think that realignment. Talking about the Orioles system, I know the Aberdeen Ironbirds. We talk with Michael Marcantonini here on the show. Another promotion. Go check out that interview with him, talking about a lot of the Orioles players that are performing right now. The Ironbirds, their transition to the draft league, the Keys coming in, kind of taking their shape. Again, it will be a more larger and more kind of full scale situation here. But yeah, I think again looking at it, it's going to be it's going to be the movement of teams. It's going to be the changing of it. Yeah, I think I'm going to go. You mentioned the positives for both. I'm going to go maybe foul for both. I think the positives are there for Major League Baseball. I think that you look at what they can get revenue wise with moving. I think again there is some downsides though with the strenuous, that you put on the players. The product I think could also see, you're bringing in those guys that are those, quad A players to these teams, to these, organizations. Of course, you're bringing in a new market, but the teams, of course, the NHL, they had the swan song with the Golden Knights. The Kraken have been great. I don't know with the amount of players that are on these major league rosters that you can put that together. You might be in a similar situation where you're looking at those expansion franchises. It may take them 3, 4 years, then you're trying to have to recruit. That's the danger of the expansion. You're now having to try and recruit guys too. You have this, expansion roster. Then after a season, with these already established Cubs, of course, the Dodgers signing everyone, but you still have other teams that are signing players and desired destinations, in fact. So, and that's, I guess, a little downside to keep in mind with Major League Baseball with all of this. And I think you bring up such a huge point about the stadiums, the implementing. Just to take a look at some destinations that are being discussed at this moment. Looking at Nashville, that's been a place that they've been discussing for years now. Dave Dombrowski, the Phillies president of baseball operations, before he was hired, he was rumored to be leading the charge for this Nashville kind of expansion. Montreal, of course, bringing a team back to Montreal. That would just be exciting for the nostalgia people there as well. Of course, the Washington Nationals taking over that namesake. Salt Lake City, I think something else have to keep in mind of is with these teams, with these cities coming in, not only is the systems going to get shrunk and you've got that college baseball very similar almost like to hockey now where it's like, oh yeah, you can go play a season in college ball, but then after the season sign with the team and we'll, kind of put you in that. So it already kind of happens a little bit, but it will be, extensified really in that kind of system. But you're talking about these communities which minor league baseball really thrives with Nashville, with the Sounds, with some of these towns that it's a little ways away. In the South, you talk about the Braves that are a little ways away from the Braves. You have these minor league teams that are really entrenched in the community. And you talk about a place like Nashville with the Sounds, where are they gonna go? Where are the fans of the Sounds gonna go? I mean, almost just like a major league team, but on a minor league scale. Now you're following a team from another area. You have all that tradition with a community that you built going to these games throughout the summer. So, I mean, expanding and monopolizing, I like it. Again, talk about the revenue, you talk about adding in more excitement, building on the excitement of the brand that Major League Baseball has built with the WBC, with the World Series, with the viewership. But minor league baseball, and I'm not calling it exactly the backbone, but you're looking at these communities where these fans that, Brewers fans in Nashville or in Salt Lake City, Angels fans in Salt Lake City that get to watch their team or a part of their team, that won't happen anymore. I think that's something to consider as well, adding to what you were talking about, Cedric.
Affiliate of Nashville, but the Cubs already have the Knoxville Smokies that are in that area. So it's just like those types of conflicts are going to happen. And then if you move one to a different system, then you're going to have to, it creates a
Mhm.
butterfly effect. So let's say you build a team in the Carolinas and you want to have a team there. Richmond would make way more sense to be with Carolina, but then now who's going to be with the Giants? And it's going to domino a lot out. You talked about Milwaukee and that being, there's already a AAA team in Nashville. So now are they going to just get up and move to like New Orleans or something like that? It's almost like if you're thinking about expansion, which they're going to do it based off the market, they never do it based off of the minor league system because that's just not how U.S. economy works. But they will move, like let's say Portland comes in. I think that could be a market where I feel like there are new fans that are ready to go, but they might have been a part of Seattle's market. It might be Mariners fan, and then that might become a new rivalry, which is kind of odd and kind of insane to think about. But I also give it that perspective of like being from like having ties to all of Maryland and ties to like Columbus, Ohio as well. Like I'd imagine like if the Columbus, let's say they added a team to Columbus, I would instantly be a fan of that team and like put aside any other fandoms that I'd have. That's how I'd prioritize it. And I think that would be how a lot of people would have it. Like how people in Baltimore in this area, a lot of people in the NBA cheer for the Wizards, but let's say the Baltimore Bullets came back or something like that, then everybody would cheer for Baltimore, cheer for like the local team. And I'm wondering if that will be the case as well for all those people that cheer for the Braves. But It would take time. It builds you, like you said, you need generations to build these things. Like there's generations of people in the South that are fans of the Braves. That's not just the the fandom, it's the culture around there of the Braves with all the success that they've had, how impressive they've been as a program. It would be really hard for people to put down their Atlanta Braves hat and put on an in star hat for the new Nashville team. It's just interesting to think about. So yeah, that's certainly something that the MLB would have to think about for markets. That's why I think a lot of success if you go out west because there's way more space in between those states. So I think you can build I'm more of an identity in those individual markets, but it certainly is a good debate. I'm interested to see how everyone kind of sounds off on this in our group chat, but I think you have some really good thoughts on it and interesting with foul on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's how I'm looking. And yeah, you talk about just kind of touching on that as we're finishing up here, action-packed episode, talking about all different things here. Yeah, out west, it almost goes down to an architectural standpoint. With all of these East Coast, a lot of these cities, Montreal in Canada, Salt Lake City out west. Nashville's kind of in the south, but a lot of this Eastern Seaboard, it's tight cities booked together. Baltimore, Philadelphia, Atlanta, kind of all the way down, Florida a little bit more, but still, almost from an architectural view, we're out west. I mean, that kind of makes sense, like you said, with kind of the space that these cities have, with kind of some of these states that, you have minor league baseball, they don't have a major league team. So maybe it's easier to integrate. Again, Salt Lake City, of course, we're not putting our vote in here, but I mean, I'm looking at that maybe more so than a Nashville. Of course, Montreal, there is that nostalgia that those, maybe fans looking at the jersey, seeing that their Pedro Martinez Expo jersey in the closet, will smile about if that happens. But yeah, that's another thing I think that's going to come into play. But yeah, that really will wrap it up. Conversations that are certainly will be ongoing. I know there was Jeff Passan was saying that, it might not even happen when Rob Manfred, it might happen 2030 and beyond. So we'll probably might mention this again, might discuss this further down the line and how everything, changes with it. But again, we talked about a lot of different stuff here on the episode. Rookies that are standing out, taking Major League Baseball by storm, matchups to watch, college baseball, talking about the affiliated ball getting started, risers, fallers, talking about stock up, stock down, fair or foul with the expansion. Yeah, action-packed week ahead. Minor League Baseball continuing, Double A and below. We talked about those teams. Expansion could be getting rid of them or moving around. They start this week, later this week, the series. Take a look at those. Keep an eye on those matchups. Until then, we'll be back next Monday. Jacob Smedley, Sedric Granger will keep it rolling. Keep an eye, Minor League Minute, for continued content on all things minor league, college baseball, sprinkle in some Major League Baseball as well. Tune in. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.
Every story starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars,
early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called,
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game.